risk analysis in capital budgeting. Under this heading, please write, capital budgeting decisions are based on estimations of future cash flows. Such estimations cannot be made with 100% certainty. In other words, lot of uncertainty is associated with such estimations. Such uncertainty leads to risk. Therefore, capital budgeting decisions are based on the fact of existence of risk and uncertainty. Let us move ahead and write the matter further. There are various ways of incorporating the risk associated at the time of taking a capital budgeting decision. These are broadly classified into the following: traditional or conventional techniques, which include risk adjusted discounting rate technique, certainty equivalent technique, sensitivity analysis. So, I have mentioned one thing, that there are some traditional or conventional techniques. I have yet to explain you about each one of these. So, wait for the right time. Let us move ahead and write further. Statistical techniques, which come under the category of modern techniques. Probability approach, that is computing EVCF and ENPV. Standard deviation and coefficient of variation. Dependent and independent cash flows, and decision tree approach that we consider as conditional probabilities. Now what I am showing you, risk adjusted discounting rate. We have seen that there are three approaches under the traditional or conventional techniques. First one is risk adjusted discounting rate technique. Second one is certainty equivalent technique, and third is sensitivity analysis. Let us do one thing, let us discuss conceptually each one of these techniques one by one. First, we begin with risk adjusted discounting rate technique. Now please understand, there is something called a risk-free rate. The meaning of risk-free rate is such a rate of return which does not involve any element of risk. For example, you put your money invested in money market. When I say money market, suppose you have invested your money with banks, maybe as a fixed deposit. So you know that at what date you will get back your money and how much amount along with interest. Now, irrespective of the market condition moving up or down, your returns do not get affected. You will continue to earn exactly the specified rate of return irrespective of what is happening in the market. As a result, this kind of investment is called risk-free investment. But do you know one thing? The risk-free rate of interest is generally very low, very low. If you want to earn high or at a high rate of return, you will have to take risk. So risk therefore becomes a primary attribute, that if you want to earn high returns, you will have to take risk. Now, if that is the case, when you want to earn high, you are therefore prepared to take risk. In other words, if I ask you that, see, there is a investment proposal where there is risk involved, you tell me one thing, will you accept low returns or you will want high returns? You will obviously want high returns, correct? If you want high returns, you would place the expected rate of return varying upon the risk involved in the project. The higher the risk involved in the project, the higher is the rate of return that you would want. Tell me yes or no. That is what we say risk adjusted discounting rate technique. So you are going to analyze various projects which will have different degrees of risk. If the projects are having different degrees of risk, the project having high degree of risk will have a higher expected rate of return. And the moment I say higher expected rate of return, the discounting rate will be high. With the high discounting rate, the present value will obviously fall. So if there is a high risky project, you apply high discounting rate. If it still gives you positive NPV, that means in spite of the risk involved in the project, it is good to accept that project. It is good to make investment in that project. That is how we are going to deal with risk adjusted discounting rate technique. So higher the risk involved, more should be your expected rate of return. So please pay attention on the screen, and I will show some important notes over here. Risk adjusted discounting rate. It has been discussed earlier that the cutoff rate is the aggregate of risk-free rate plus risk premium. For example, if the risk-free rate is 10% and the premium for the risk involved in the project is 6%, therefore the risk adjusted discounting rate will be aggregate of 10 and 6, that is 16%. Different projects involve different degrees of risk, and therefore RADR, that is risk adjusted discounting rate, for different projects can be different. So can you notice one thing? The very first line in the note is mentioning that the cutoff rate is the aggregate of risk-free rate plus risk premium. Let us focus on this particular line. The cutoff rate is what? Basically your expected rate of return. It is always going to be aggregate of two components: risk-free rate, whatever is available as risk-free rate in the market, that rate, and on that you are going to add a factor called risk premium, that is a premium or an additional reward for taking risk. So risk-free rate plus premium will make it an expected rate of return, which becomes our cutoff rate. The meaning of cutoff rate is we don't want to earn below that rate. That is the minimum rate of return that we are expecting. So expected rate of return, cutoff rate or discounting rate, all these terms are pinpointing to the same meaning, and this itself is aggregate of two factors. One is the risk-free rate and another is the premium for the risk that we are going to take. I am sure you all have finished writing this whole thing. Let us move ahead and now write up something later. For example, the company has to decide on selection of one of the two projects A and B, which are mutually exclusive, and further inform that project B is having more risk as compared to project A. So here what is happening, we are observing that a company is having project selection criteria. There are two projects given in the situation, project A and project B, and the risk degree of the two projects are varying. Project B is having more risk as compared to project A. If project B is having more risk, it is a clear indication that you will be using a higher discounting rate for project B. If you have selected some rate for A, rate for B will be little higher. For example, if you have taken 12% as discounting rate for project A, it would be maybe 15% discounting rate for project B. In other words, the higher the risk involved in the project, the higher should be the discounting rate. Now, how to compute that discounting rate, how to compute that risk premium, that we have yet to discuss. That we will be discussing in a while, that how should we compute that risk premium, because risk-free rate will be known as an information available in the market. What is the degree of risk premium that you should add to risk-free rate, that we have yet to discuss. Keep patience, I'll discuss that as well. Right now what we do is we continue writing further, and over here try to follow the next line. So the company adopts 12% per annum discounting rate for project A and 15% per annum discounting rate for project B. It can therefore be concluded that the project having high risk should be analyzed using higher discounting rate as compared to the project having lower risk. It may also happen that sometimes different discounting rates can be used to analyze a single project, that is different discounting rate for different cash flows within the same project. Let me explain that last paragraph over there, which is something very, very important. So what is conveyed in that last paragraph? Within a project, it may so happen that you may use different discounting rates for different cash flows. For example, life of a project is 5 years, and 5 years you have estimated the annual cash flows. After 5 years, the project will terminate. Now there is another counterparty with whom you have already made a contract that counterparty will be purchasing the assets of the project after 5 years, and they have guaranteed the terminal value. So if they have provided guarantee of terminal value, use your brain, use your common sense. With respect to that terminal value, we have absolutely no risk. So there is no point in applying risk adjusted discounting rate for that terminal value, because over there we don't find risk. Risk in that case is only in the future annual cash flows, the regular cash flows that will be generated out of the project. So you may use risk adjusted discounting rate for those annual cash flows, and you may actually apply risk free rate for that terminal cash flow. That is the significance of that last paragraph over there. Let us move ahead and write further. For example, the risk free rate is 10% and risk premium is considered to be 5%. Therefore, RADR will be 15%. The project under proposal that has cash flow of rupees 6 lakhs per annum and its residual value at end of life has been guaranteed by another party as rupees 4 lakhs. So some party has guaranteed the residual value. If someone has guaranteed a residual value, you can of course understand one point, that there is no risk involved with that residual value, what we generally call as terminal cash flow. So it will be logical to apply 15% discounting rate for the usual cash flows, but we will apply risk free rate as the discounting rate for that terminal cash flow. Let us move ahead and continue writing further. For determining the total present value of inflow, it may be appropriate to use 15% per annum rate for usual annual cash flows, but to use 10% per annum rate, that is risk free rate, for the residual value, because such residual value can be considered as free from uncertainty. The basic idea in adopting this technique is to use higher discounting rate for higher risky projects on relative basis, so that there has to be higher expectation for returns for higher risk involvement. Let us begin with question number 7 and let us read this question. Determine the risk adjusted net present value of the following projects. So can you notice that there are 3 projects involved, X, Y and Z. The net cash outlays, that means the initial investment of each project is given, project life is given, annual cash inflow is given, and coefficient of variation is given. Thereafter, what is further given is the company selects risk adjusted rate for discounting on the basis of coefficient of variation. That means the RADR selection is based on coefficient of variation. And can you notice in the table they have given you various discounting rates for each degree of coefficient of variation. When coefficient of variation is 0, that means it is risk free. The RADR column indicates 10%. So one thing is clear, that risk free rate will be 10%. Thereafter, with every degree of coefficient of variation starting from 0.4, then 0.8, then 1.2, then 1.6, then 2 and then more than 2. For all these, what is the applicable RADR? It is already given, and the good thing is question itself informs you the annuity factor also. So let us see how to present the solution for the same. So we begin with project X and for project X the coefficient of variation is given as 1.2. Can you quickly refer to the table given in the question and give me the corresponding RADR applicable for this particular coefficient of variation? When coefficient of variation is 1.2, what is the RADR? The obvious answer on reference to the table given in the question would be 16%. So now we know that it is 16% discounting rate that you would apply on project X. If that is the case, you start with its annual cash flows. Annual cash inflow is 70,000. The present value of annuities at a 16% discounting rate is already given to you in the question. Multiplying that to the annual cash flows, you get the total PV of inflow as 229,180. From that you subtract the PV of outflow and what you get is NPV of 19,180. Let us move ahead and now take up the calculations with respect to project Y. Here the coefficient of variation is given as 0.8. The required RADR referring from the table where CV is 0.8, it is given as 14%. The annual cash inflows are 42,000. So the present value of annuities would be 3.433 multiplied by 42,000, which comes to 1,44,186, and 1,20,000 is the initial investment, resulting into NPV of 24,186. I am sure most of you would have calculated even before what I have displayed over here. Let us move ahead and take up the calculation for project Z. Coefficient of variation of project Z is given as 0.4 and the RADR corresponding to this CV will be what? 12%, and annual cash inflows are given as 30,000. So total PV of annuities would come to 1,08,150, and subtracting the PV of outflow as 1 lakh, you get the resulting NPV as 8,150. So NPV of the three projects, if we conclude, 19,180 for X, 24,186 for Y, and it is 8,150 for project Z.